2024 proved to be a very successful year for Cadillac. In fact, for the first time in probably 30 or 40 years, they owned a segment, which was the premium luxury EV market at around $70,000 with the Lyriq, outselling Audi, BMW, Mercedes. I mean, this is incredible stuff to talk about because Cadillac has always been that brand that you thought about the good old days. Well, the good old days might have just returned. So for 2025, there is a slew of EVs from the brand. The Escalade IQ, the Vistiq, and the all-new Optiq. This is the most affordable EV in the lineup with a starting cost of just over $54,000. And when you take a look at where the EV market is heading in right now, the Optiq could be successful as well. In today's video, we're going to check out what this new EV has to offer. We're going to check out the exterior, the interior, take it out for a quick test drive, and see why, if you are somebody who has looked at a Kia EV6 or Ford Mustang Mach-E and thought, you know what, this just isn't it at $54,000. I want something a bit more luxurious and upscale. Well, you might just have that here with a 2025 Cadillac Optiq. Now, before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to Cadillac of Norwood here in Norwood, Massachusetts for letting me come down here to check out the Cadillac Optiq. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Cadillac inventory. So as always, let's begin with pricing. For 2025 with the Cadillac Optiq we have today, we have the Sport 2 coming in at just over $57,000. This is the top trim for the model year. However, if you want to go with a base trim, a Lux 1, that comes in just below 55 grand. So there isn't a wide range in regards to the pricing for those four trims. It also goes one step further than that because for 2025, at least initially, you don't have a model with rear-wheel drive. They're all dual electric motors, so it gives you that year-round capability and versatility, which I know a lot of you are looking for if you live in colder regions of the US like we do up here in New England. Now also, when you take a look at the pricing and the size of this vehicle, you're probably thinking, all right, isn't this going to be a direct replacement for that XT4, which is no longer going to be produced after 2025? Not so fast, because dimensions-wise, it's identical in length to an XT5 and priced almost identically to a V6-powered XT5. So you can draw your own conclusions there, but I think the Optiq is an EV version of that mid-size crossover. Also, for those of you who are curious between the Lux and Sport, with the Lux trim you get more chrome accents, whereas with the Sport you have the gloss black trim here and this two-tone look, which is rather classy. And since we're talking about the exterior, might as well go over the design elements for this model. So up front, you are going to receive full LED headlights with that cascading waterfall effect for the LED daytime running lights and LED headlights. But it does go one step further where the grille itself is also illuminated. And that is so classy and sophisticated, especially for a vehicle under $60,000. And Cadillac has been doing a phenomenal job with their designs lately for their gas-powered and EV models, where they're finally starting to showcase that they truly are a premium luxury brand in the 2020s. We've been waiting decades for this, right? Like, we've been waiting a long time for Cadillac to be on the same level as Audi, Mercedes-Benz, and BMW. And it's finally here, but it's in EV form. Also, what you're going to notice here is that with the body lines, the gloss black trim for the lower portion of the front bumper along the side profile and the rear fascia, it does look rather car-like, even though it is a crossover built very similarly to that Chevrolet Equinox EV. It kind of looks like a lifted station wagon, so it's going to have some of those elements that maybe you're looking for right now in the 2020s. Maybe you're sick of that traditional crossover look and you want something a bit more sporty and car-like. You're going to have that here with the Optiq. Now, as you make your way over to the side profile, this model is sitting on 20-inch alloy wheels. Now, I know what you're thinking. 20-inch wheels for a vehicle of this size and for an affordable EV like this, isn't that going to play around with the ride quality and interior insulation? Well, it is. I mean, this isn't going to be a Cadillac Escalade IQ. It's also not going to be like a Vistiq or a Lyriq. So temper your expectations a bit, but because it is an EV, because you have the weight of the electric motors and how Cadillac had to retune the suspension, it does ride quite nice. I think you will be impressed here. Now, as I talked about before, you had the gloss black trim outlining the wheel wells along the side profile as well, and then for the top portion, giving you that two-tone look. Love to see that. Also, you will have gloss black side mirror caps with turn signal indicators to go along with blind spot detection for added safety. Then as you make your way around to the back, maybe I am lacking some imagination here, but it does take a lot of inspiration from that lyric with that sloping roofline, the C-pillar design, and even the taillights as well, which are also full LED. So very classy look, upscale, and modern, which is exactly what you're looking for out of an EV under $60,000. Like I said before, you have the gloss black trim for the lower portion of the rear bumper. And all in all, I think that for an EV that's going head-to-head with that Audi Q4, Kia EV6, Ford Mustang Mach-E, this does have a nice quality design to it, which, again, Cadillac has been doing really well with their EV products. In regards to performance, you are going to receive dual electric motors. This alone is a major selling point. Forget about pricing, forget about performance. Dual electric motors coming standard across all 4 trims is almost unheard of in this market because in one way or another, you're going to find a lot of vehicles in this market forcing you to spend extra for all-wheel drive. But with the Cadillac Optiq, that is not an issue at all. Now, with the dual electric motors, you are going to receive 300 horsepower and 354 pound-feet of torque. But in regards to range, you're looking at right around 302 miles, which does outclass the Audi Q4 and is slightly better than the Kia EV6. So, range anxiety might not be too bad here with the Optiq. Now, for those of you who are concerned about that and you want to know how fast you can charge this vehicle up, at a DC fast charger, you can gain about 80 miles of range in 10 minutes. Not too bad at all. Hopping inside the Cadillac Optiq we have today, we have power adjustable, heated, ventilated, and massaging leatherette seats for both the driver and passenger. With the driver's side and passenger side receiving 3-position memory for added convenience. Really great to see here for a vehicle under $60,000 to have all these creature comforts and amenities. Now, even though we don't have leather upholstery, these seats are actually rather plush and they provide a decent amount of support. Bolstering isn't too aggressive, which I'm not surprised by at all because this is a luxury EV at the end of the day. I do find the cushioning for the bottoms of these seats to be really comfortable and probably unrivaled. So when you are going on those longer road trips with the family or you're on those weekday commutes, you'll not be dealing with any fatigue or back pain with this vehicle. One thing I want to point out here too is that on the door panels, you will find the controls for your seats. So much like we saw with the Cadillac Escalade IQ, but also even a Mercedes-Benz product, this is actually really nice to see. And it definitely tells you that Cadillac is moving in that premium luxury direction. Now in front of you will be a 33-inch curved screen. Obviously, we have the Google built-in software, much like we've seen across the entire product of Cadillac vehicles. But let's go over this one more time. So, with this digital gauge cluster, it is somewhat customizable, but not super in-depth or intuitive. On the left side of the screen, you can change up this display to your liking for energy, map, assist, and clean. I would just go with map for that Google map display, so that way I'm not looking at the infotainment system. Now, it's also from the left side of the screen where you can adjust your head-up display, your trip computer. Also, you can turn on your full LED headlights, or you can just leave it on auto, whatever you feel more comfortable doing so. Now, speaking of that head-up display, it's very easy to read and at eye level, so if you're someone who doesn't want to look down at the screens and you want to keep your eyes on the road ahead of you, you can definitely do so here with the Optiq. Then taking a look at your infotainment system, this is the exact same layout that we saw in the Cadillac Escalade IQ, but also XT4 and XT5. With the Google built-in software, you are going to have Google Assistant, Google Play Store, Amazon Alexa, and obviously Google Maps. From this screen, you can access your drive mode settings for Tour, Sport, Snow and Ice, and then My Mode, so you can customize the driving experience to your liking. Also, you can turn on one pedal drive, which if you are acclimated with EVs, this one pedal drive is rather aggressive, so you're going to like that if you prefer regen braking for your EV products. At the bottom of the screen will be quick access icons that will get you to different menus efficiently, such as your home screen, radio, navigation map, Bluetooth, and then your charging settings. So when you want to charge up this vehicle, you can access that immediately from the screen. Also at this screen from the bottom where you can turn off this vehicle, so there is no push button start, as you can tell for the dashboard layout. You can also open the glove box as well, and then right there is your one pedal drive. It's also here by going with the Sport 2 package where you are going to have ambient lighting, so that will set the mood when you are out late at night on a date or whatever. Now, one thing I do like though about the Optiq is that it does retain the dual functionality. So you are going to find a rotary dial and quick access buttons on the center console. We see that with other Cadillac products, and I'm glad to see that Cadillac is keeping that for their EV lineup. So that way, if you don't want to reach for the screen, you don't have to. For your camera systems, you are going to have a plethora of camera angles to choose from, such as a top view, rear backup camera with trajectory, front-facing camera with trajectory, a side view for your front wheels, so that way you don't scrape those 20-inch wheels. So you're going to have plenty of visibility here when you are backing out of tight spots in a garage or when you are parking on city streets. On top of that, you are going to have a digital rear view mirror. So if you have people in the second row, they'll not be obstructing your view when you're looking out back. Beneath the head unit, you are going to find a very traditional layout here that we've seen for many years in the Cadillac product line for your dual zone climate control, AC, front and rear defrosters, fan speed, and fan direction. Love to see that. Some buyers, even in the EV segments, are looking for an analog layout, and you have that here with the Optiq. Beneath that, you are going to find a storage compartment, maybe for one bag or a couple booklets here like we have here for the Optiq for our model. Then for the standard storage compartment, there is plenty of room for smaller items, such as a couple smartphones or wallets, and you will find 2 USB-C inputs and also a wireless phone charging pad. Then to round out the front seating area, above is a fixed panoramic glass roof, which brings in a lot of natural light to the interior. Now moving on to the second row, passengers in the back are going to receive right around 38 inches of legroom, which is rather respectable for a vehicle in this market. Now I do think that the Optiq is a bit more of a mature crossover, so I highly doubt that you're going to have smaller kids sit back here with the leatherette upholstery, but if they do, there is going to be plenty of legroom back here, especially if you have tall passengers sit back here on a daily basis. Now for those of you wondering, with that lower roof line, is that going to be too much of an issue in regards to headroom? I don't think so at all. I don't think people will be hitting their head on the headliner, so everyone should be comfortable in this model. Also back here, you are going to have 2 center-mounted air vents to go along with 2 USB-C inputs. Now, since we have the Sport 2 package, we have heated outboard seats, so on those cold days, everyone is going to be feeling nice and toasty in here. And then to round out the second row seating area, you do get a center armrest with 2 cup holders. Making our way around to the back one more time to take a look at the rear cargo area, you are going to receive a power liftgate. And inside, behind the second row seats, you're looking at right around 26 cubic feet of room, which would be similar to a compact crossover. I was able to fit all my camera gear today, no problem. So that's 3 bags of camera gear, a gimbal box, and a tripod. On top of that, there are some side pockets here for some smaller items, maybe a couple water bottles, car detail equipment, or maybe even a first aid kit. As a daily driver, this is more than enough. It's more than practical for daily use. I do think, though, that if you are going on a road trip with the family or a significant other, you could probably store 8, 9, 10 bags of luggage back here with no issues. Then with the second row seats folded, you're looking at right around 57 cubic feet of room. Once again, being pretty much that compact crossover. So if you're someone who's ready to hop into an EV from that XT4 or XT5, you're not going to notice too much of a decrease in regards to practicality. So a vehicle the size of the XT5 with a price point below $60,000 seems to be a winning formula for a Cadillac, as the Lyriq is doing quite well in its own segment, and the Optiq could very well fall in the footsteps of its bigger sibling. More importantly though, and as I talked about earlier on, when the Optiq was announced, it seemed like this was going to be a direct replacement for the XT4. But now that I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the price point and the size of this vehicle, it's most certainly not, which makes me have some questions here. Does Cadillac have plans to make a smaller EV at around $45,000? That might be something to keep an eye on. With the Optiq, though, what you have here is a vehicle that actually goes head-to-head with non-traditional rivals from manufacturers that are in the mainstream segment, such as the Kia EV6 GT line, maybe even the Ford Mustang Mach-E GT, and then you also have the Audi Q4. This could also be a direct rival to a Tesla Model Y. When you take a look at what you have here to work with, 300 horsepower, 354 pound-feet of torque, a range of 300 miles, this seems to be more than enough for most buyers. Now also performance-wise, this would be right in line with the V6-powered XT5. So you got to think here that this is going to be a great alternative if you're ready to make that switch from ICE to EV and you're looking at buying a Cadillac at around $60,000. But then for those of you who are specifically looking at EVs and you want something a bit more luxurious and upscale at this price point, now you have a new model to consider. Because with the Kia EV6, all right, yeah, it's nice. Similar technology layout, actually similar dashboard layout here to what we have with the Optiq, but you're getting a vehicle that's a bit more luxurious. Now, with the Optiq, you have the full digital gauge cluster, infotainment system, and then also all the creature comforts and amenities since we had the Sport too. And at $60,000, I think your dollar goes a little bit further here than what you have with the EV6. Now, obviously, though, with the Optiq, this isn't a sports SUV. So you're not going to have the propulsion. You're not going to have the push back in your seat. This is not going to be a dynamic EV in most cases. Obviously, you're still going to have the smooth acceleration, the nice power band here since it is an EV, but it's not going to be a vehicle that is going to really set the world on fire in regards to 0 to 60 times. However, as a daily driver, as a commuter vehicle, and maybe even a family hauler, this is actually quite nice. And what we're seeing now from Cadillac, you now have a competitive vehicle that maybe was never going to happen if the EV segment didn't emerge. Because with the XT4 and XT5, let's be real, tech and interior quality-wise does fall behind the Germans. But in the EV segments, this is a bit of a different story, because if you cross-shot this with an Audi Q4, it has better range. But then also if you cross-shot this with a Lexus RZ450, not only does it have better range, but I think this has better technology too. So this is actually a great choice for someone who's ready to buy an EV from a legacy manufacturer. Now, I'm starting off in sport mode today, and I have to say, steering is very, very heavy. Very uncharacteristic from Cadillac, if I do say so myself. Now, one thing that Cadillac is starting to improve here for their EV lineup, and really just even their modern vehicles in the lineup, is giving you a true luxurious experience. And at $60,000, and for this particular segment, I think you have that here. Since you do have the EV propulsion, it's very smooth. You go over the bumps and imperfections quite well. The suspension is tuned for luxury first, so you're going to have an upscale driving experience. Driving environment-wise, though, obviously you're not going to have the soft touch materials on the dashboard or door panels. Keep in mind, this is an entry model in the EV lineup, so if you're still looking at buying an affordable Cadillac, you're going to have to go with one of the last XT4s available at dealership lots this year. But I think if you're ready to make the switch, this is a great entry point into the Cadillac lineup. So let's get on the highway here. Let's see what the Optiq has to offer. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Now again, you don't have that pushback in your seat. It's a very linear power band. And with that, it kind of feels like a traditional vehicle, a gas-powered vehicle in that way, although with the XT4 and XT5, you don't have the turbo lag here with the Optiq. Now, at highway speeds at around 60 miles an hour, road noise isn't too bad at all, and interior insulation is noteworthy, to say the least. Because for an entry EV, you expect to have the cheaper materials. You expect to have a vehicle that isn't going to be as refined as the Vistiq or the Lyriq or, of course, the Cadillac Escalade IQ. But honestly, though, you know, even with the tire size that we have here on this model and the fact that this isn't going to be the most luxurious offering in the lineup, it's actually not that bad. I mean, it is windy today, and we are traveling at 60 miles an hour, but you do feel rather isolated being behind the wheel. That's pretty impressive. Now, also with the Optiq being an EV, it has a lower center of gravity, so you're going to feel very connected to the road here. And as we're going to find out in these corners for this off-ramp, it should feel like a sporty crossover. Yeah, there's not too much body roll. And this is something that you're not going to experience from an XT4 or XT5. While performance isn't going to match this vehicle's handling characteristics and dynamics, it is going to feel rather sporty and fun. So all in all, after this quick test drive for the Cadillac Optiq, it's not going to be the performance that's going to have a profound effect on you, because I wouldn't say the performance is noteworthy even driving this vehicle around for about 25 minutes, because it drives like every other EV in this segment. It's going to be more along the lines of its value proposition. Is it a true luxury EV? Is this a great alternative to an Audi Q4, a Mercedes-Benz EQB, and maybe even a Lexus RZ450? I think it is, because when you have the full digital gauge cluster, the Google built-in software, the creature comforts and amenities, to have all this under $60,000, this is huge. And on top of that, when you're comparing this to a Kia EV6, a Ford Mustang Mach-E, I mean, it's kind of difficult to look at Kia and Ford in the same way and in the same breath as what you have here with the Cadillac Optiq. I think this is going to be a great choice for those of you who have lavish taste. You want a luxurious experience, you want a luxury EV, and you've been waiting for a vehicle like this. 300 miles of range, the horsepower and pound-feet of torque is more than enough to be competitive in this market. And also another thing too, when you take a look at what you have here for the driving environment, the creature comforts, the seats, it's giving you everything under one roof that right now is rare to find in the EV segments. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick review for the 2025 Cadillac Optiq. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys next time.